I'm Tony Winders, founder and CEO of the Winders Group. We are a marketing agency, a virtual collective of marketing talent that we package and assemble as virtual teams to get marketing work done for our technology clients. The valuable thing about working with Wise Profits was really the discipline of our process. And by that, I mean the ability to really get clear about a business process around focusing on profit and growing revenue such that we put ourselves in the position to be able to scale the business. One of the things about being a creative executive is that we need to have guardrails put up around us as kind of lanes to move within. And I think Wise Profits gave me a framework within which I could be creative, but at the same time operate a profitable business. In my work with Chris Wise and Wise Profits, we were able to double our revenue of our services business and create the framework and the structure that laid a groundwork for the ability to scale the business. Chris Wise helped me to put in place a business planning process, a profit and loss architecture, a lot of frameworks around which I was able to run the business in a more pragmatic way, considering that I had so many things going on as an entrepreneur. Chris Wise helped me to determine a process and a structure for how those things fit together, and so that I could operate my business with the intention to scale it over time. One of the most tangible benefits of working with Chris Wise, and the first thing that we worked on, was getting clarity around my intention as a business person and what I wanted to do. I've always held the belief that you can do anything that you put your mind to, but the hardest part is figuring out what you want to do. And so I had a good idea of that, but Chris helped me to codify what it is that I really wanted to do with my business and my marketing vocation, and apply that to a real business that had the potential to scale. So our work started together as almost life coaching rather than scale coaching, and really focusing on the individual and working into from the inside out as to the things that I wanted to do in business and in life, so that we could build a business around the lifestyle that I wanted to create for myself. And that's what Chris Wise helped me to do. First exercises that Chris invited me to do was something that he learned and taught to me, and I've since passed on to others, about the ability to just recognize that there is an inner child in all of us that needs to be attended to, and that if you have that kind of self-love and self-respect and take care of yourself in really all manner of ways in life, that from there you can create the mindset from which to grow your business externally. But if everything is in alignment internally with your intentions and your love of self, that so many other things fall into place around that. And I think that was a foreign concept to me the first time that Chris introduced that to me on a video conference and asked me to just take a moment to acknowledge the love of myself and that inner being that needs the nurturing, and to know that I'm here taking care of that inner self. And that was a little foreign to me at first, and but once I got over that hump and we practiced that a few times, it became the basis of what would allow me to get into the disciplined regimen, both personally and professionally, that allowed me to start scaling my business. The focus on self-love in a business context showed up for me as a more disciplined exercise regimen, and So for me, that's yoga, running, a meditation practice. I mean, that's how it showed up to me, practically speaking, in my sort of self-care and self-love type of approach. But the practical outcome of that practice was the clarity that comes with it by just being, right? Just being, giving yourself the space to know that you have everything you need, that you are loved, and you've got infinite power and possibility inside of your being, that everything we need to accomplish our objectives on this planet is here already, that you just need to go get it. And by having the focus on self, and by getting into those regimens of exercise or whatever it is for any individual, for me it's kind of showed up that way, that from that place there was just better clarity about the things I needed to do on any given day. And so I'm reminded of that as I'm speaking to you, and um, it's a reminder to keep doing that on a daily basis. And that's the thing, having Chris Wise there over your shoulder, or on, it's kind of philosophically on your shoulder right here, on a day-to-day basis, whispering in your ear, reminding you to do certain things. That matters. Maybe not everybody needs that, but for me, the constant reminder and the discipline, and having a coach there who is holding you accountable and reminding you of what's important and creating goals and checking in, is exactly the kind of discipline that I needed. And what we were able to accomplish from that was, it was really meaningful. I was able to double my business during the year that we worked together. I was able to add key staff to my team, and I feel like we put the framework together for strategic planning as a business, the framework for how to think about profit in my business, and it's been invaluable. The clarity that comes from the clarity that came from our work together allowed me to not only be clear within myself about my objectives, but it helped to focus in on the most important things at work, so that everything else became white noise. When you're so focused and clear on what it is that you need to do on an annual basis, a quarterly basis, or before noon, everything else becomes secondary, and it just allows you to be okay with the fact that you could be doing 100 other things, but that this is exactly the right thing. So the clarity of love of self, the clarity of understanding what it is you're trying to accomplish in business, just creates a regimen around, and a work ethic around getting up each day to do the most important thing. And when you have that clarity, it pays off over time. You start to see the results pretty quickly in terms of it. When you are that clear about what needs to be done, it just causes you to eliminate the things that might otherwise be a distraction, or just noise that you don't need in your path as you're trying to be successful. So we really, with Chris's help, I was able to really block out the things that aren't important, to hold people around me more accountable, to hold myself more accountable, and to really be that clarity that I got from working with Chris Wise allowed me to ask the right questions of prospective clients, of my employees, of my contractors, of my partners, and to always hold them accountable just as I hold myself accountable, and to create clarity in our communication, because that was something I saw Chris do really well in dealing with me. And it's almost like he helped me to train myself to do as he did in communicating with me in our relationship. So there's coaching as well as emulating, and just kind of taking Chris's lead on how he acts in the world allowed me to put some practices in place that made me a better executive, and made me want to be more accountable, and made me hold other people more accountable, which in turn helped me to level up in my business. What I experienced in working with Chris Wise was a connection between the self-love and being conscious of your own kind of self-care and self well-being, and how that breeds clarity, which results in ultimately, for me, doubling my business within 1 year. What I found in working with Chris Wise is that there is a direct relationship between love and self-care, the clarity that comes with that as a person and as an executive, and the direct result of that through a focused process and practice over several weeks was that I was able to double my business, add staff, and create a framework for the future of the Winders Group. There's a lot of benefit that can come from taking care of yourself. And I think as a business person, I have for a long time held a work harder, not smarter kind of mentality. That's my Midwest work ethic, perhaps, but to a fault. And so with Chris's help, I was able to really see how getting the right amount of sleep, taking time to exercise and meditate, not working into family time, to have sacred time on the calendar that was my own, had the direct relationship between breaking old habits and creating new ones. As hard as that is to do, and always to me is still difficult to have that go on, to create that on a day-to-day basis. That's the hard work. And so with Chris's help, I was able to create a new habit, to shed old habits of working too long hours and just not taking care of what's important. The most important things in my life that I care most about were being neglected at some level. And with Chris's help, I was able to shed these old habits and to start doing new things that'll, as hard as it was to break into that new mode of operation, ultimately led to me being a more successful business person and to have ultimately more time to make more money, to grow my business, and to create a pathway to scale the services business that I'm currently working on. And I met Chris Wise. I was at a point in my career and in my consulting practice where I was getting work that I needed, and I was able to. I was performing the work, but I wasn't exceeding my own expectations. I was getting the work that came across the transom. I was doing the work, but I wasn't excited about it. It wasn't. I was in a spot when I met Chris where something needed to break loose and to in order for everything to move forward. And with Chris's help, I was able to get clear about a pathway to actually turn what I was doing into something much greater than the sum of its parts. And that's how we came to form the Winders Group out of the work that I did with Chris Wise, transitioning my consulting practice into a global virtual agency for the future of marketing services. About the process of working with Wise Profits was the discipline and the accountability of a process that worked week in, week out, and just the framework, basically having the structure around conversations that allowed me to check in with Chris and to make sure that the things that needed to get done were being done, and just having the accountability and the coach to check in with was a lot of what I liked most about the process. Working with Chris wasn't necessarily easy. So the things that I love most about working with Chris Wise are kind of the things that hurt most, the things where you're feeling the pressure and the pain and kind of where Chris tested my boundaries personally and professionally to really kind of challenge what's going on for me personally and breaking through some of those walls so that I could unleash my creative potential as an executive. I'd just like to thank Chris Wise for his commitment to my career and to the business that I'm building. With Chris's help, I have become a much clearer professional. I have leveled up in my personal life and in my business life, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done together, and I'm grateful for Chris and what he's building with Wise Profits, and I would recommend Chris Wise to anyone who is looking for that scaling coach and that discipline to take their interpersonal growth and their business growth to the next level.